Alright, our section on adding and subtracting polynomials, 3.4. To add polynomials, you'll combine like terms. So just like when we left off on 3.3 and adding like terms, that's what we're going to be doing in this section. So anytime that you have a plus sign in between your polynomials, that's what you want to look for, that plus sign. All you're doing is you're adding like terms. So that means that I'm looking, I have an x squared in this polynomial. I also have an x squared in that polynomial. Then I look to see, oh, there's an x in this polynomial. There's also an x in that polynomial. And then last, there's a number and a number. So you want to look for anything that can be like terms. So I'm just going to combine like terms. I have a 5 in front of my x squared and a negative 6 in front of my x squared in my second polynomial. So I have different signs. I'm going to subtract. Take the sign of the bigger number. The bigger number is negative, so my answer is a negative 1 x squared. Now I didn't mean to put that 1. I'm going to erase it. Remember, in simplest form, it's not simplest form until you just have the negative x squared. Now for my x's, I have a negative 2x and a positive 1x. Different signs, so I'm going to subtract. Take the sign of the bigger number. My bigger number is negative, so I have 2 minus 1, which is another 1x. So I just put negative x for simplest form. Now for my numbers, I have a positive 1 and a negative 1. Well, they're going to cancel each other out. I have 1 minus 1, that's going to give me 0. So in simplest form, my answer is negative x squared minus x. Okay, the next example, again, same stuff. What I'm going to do is I'm going to, again, make sure that you have that plus sign in between your polynomials, and I do. And since I have a plus sign in between my polynomials, that means I'm going to put things in simplest form. So, I'm going to add like terms. So when I add like terms, I want to look and see if there's another x to the 5th. There's not another x to the 5th, so 3x to the 5th is going to come down in my answer. Now I want to look and see if there's an x to the 3rd. There is an x to the 3rd on both sides, so I get to combine them as like terms. Then I want to look to see if there is an x. There is an x in both groups, so I'm going to be able to combine them. Now notice that there's not a 1, a negative 1. So I'm going to go ahead and bring down that negative 1 in my answer. I'm putting it at the end so it's in descending order, but the 3x to the 5th and the minus 1, these two things did not have any like terms, so they come straight to my answer. Now the two things that I will combine is my x cubes. So I have negative 7x cubed and positive 3x cubed, different signs. So I'm going to subtract, take the sign of the bigger number. The bigger number is negative, so I'm going to have a negative 4. 7 minus 3 is 4x cubed. Now what happens with my two x's? I have a positive 2x and a negative 2x. They're going to cancel out. They're canceling out because I have 2 minus 2, and that's going to give me 0. So this is my answer in simplest form. All right. The third example, again, I always want to make sure that I have a plus sign in between, and then I want to combine my like terms. So I have an a squared and an a squared. I have an ab and an ab. I have a b squared and a b squared. Okay, so when I combine my like terms, I have a positive a and a positive 6. So 1 plus 6 is 7a squared. For my ABs, I have a negative 1 AB and a positive 8. So different signs. I'm going to subtract. Take the sign of the bigger number. The bigger number is positive, so my answer is going to be a positive 8 minus 1 is 7AB. Different signs, so I subtracted. For my B squares, I have a positive 4b squared and a negative b squared. So I have different signs. I'm going to subtract. Take the sign of the bigger number. The bigger number is positive, so I'm going to have a positive 4 minus 1 is 3b squared. Again, this is in simplest form because I have no other terms in common. Now the next section is subtracting polynomials. And when you subtract polynomials, it's a little different than adding polynomials. And the difference is you're going to have to distribute first. Now notice in between, the difference between adding and subtracting is this one has a minus sign in between. So when it has a minus sign in between, what you're going to have to do is you're going to distribute this minus to everything behind it, just like when we did our distributive property and we had to distribute those negative ones. Now it's not going to affect this first polynomial. This first polynomial comes down exactly how it is. And I'm going to distribute this negative to the negative 8. So a negative times a negative is a positive 8x. And if you remember, when we distribute negatives, it changes all the signs behind it to its opposite. So negative to the positive 2 gives me a negative 2. So all you're doing that's different from adding polynomials to subtracting polynomials is you're distributing that negative to everything behind it. Now I'm going to combine like terms. Now notice that I have an x squared and I don't have another x squared. So that negative 7x squared comes down. Now I want to combine like terms. So I'm going to look for x's that are like and numbers that are like. So I have a positive 4 and a positive 8. Same sign, so I'm going to add and keep the sign. So it's going to be a positive 12, 4 plus 8. For my numbers, I have different signs, a positive 7 and a negative 2. So 7 minus 2 is going to be 5. And remember, the bigger number is positive, so my answer is going to be a positive 5. So that was our new step. Our new step is to distribute that negative sign. So let's do it one more time. So when I distribute that negative sign, remember a negative in between, first I'm going to bring down the polynomial in front because it doesn't change. So I have 7a squared minus 3b squared plus 10. And I'm going to distribute the negative to the negative 2 and get a positive 2a squared. I'm going to distribute the negative to the b squared and get negative b squared. Then negative to the negative 12 and becomes a positive 12. So again, trying to combine like terms, what we have left, I'm combining the a squares. So I have 7 plus 2, same sign. I'm going to add and keep the sign. So it's going to be a positive 9a squared. For the b squares, I have a negative 3b squared and a negative 1b squared. The same sign, so I'm going to add and keep the sign. And 3 plus 1 is 4b squared. And then last, the numbers. I have a positive 10 and a positive 12, so I'm going to add and keep the sign. The sign's positive, so my answer is going to be a positive 22. Okay, we're going to pick up on putting it all together and making it a little bit bigger problems in our next video.